official. I got 7. I think that clock is fast.
There we go.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Lohr. I am the chair of the Millis Finance Committee, and today is Wednesday, the 18th of September, 2024. So it's good to see everybody. I hope everybody had a nice summer and relatively rested. I know fall's here, and that means new activities for a lot of people. So before we get going, why don't we go around the table, starting off with Sarah, and introduce all of ourselves.
Sarah Reyes.
Jen Zaretsky.
Pete Berube.
Joyce Boyardi.
Michael Crone.
Kathy McInnes.
Peter Underhill.
Jody Garson.
Jody's demonstrating that we need to speak into the microphones. So it actually does make a difference. I think in the springtime, we were getting ready for this TV, and now it's live. I think the select board meetings over the summer went live on the,
Yes,
yeah. I didn't mean to put you on the spot right away.
Could you please identify yourself?
Mike Kaczynski, Town Administrator. Yeah, the select board started to go live. I think they've had 2 meetings where they've streamed live, and we're still working to get the little mice out of the system.
Sure.
So I think we're in pretty good shape now, and I think it's working pretty well. And hopefully the TVs will give you good perspective when there's presentations and so forth. So you'll have, and you don't have to crook your neck at a TV over in the corner
Yeah,
of the
there's so much
room.
space.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so I believe this meeting tonight is not on YouTube live,
No,
but it could be if we want to going forward. Is that right?
That's correct. So working with the IT director, we wanted to get the select board meetings working smoothly.
Okay.
And then we would start adding other board and committee meetings. So I would say, Mr. Chair, if you want to, speak with myself and the IT director later, we can talk about transitioning and work on that moving forward.
Sure, that sounds appropriate, so that sounds good to me. Okay, so with that said, why don't, thank you, Mike. I don't know, talking to the microphones here, so why don't we just jump right into the agenda? The agenda was distributed via email. There's no material or nameplates here tonight. But first of order is welcoming Jody to Millis. So if you want to, or
Yes,
go ahead,
Mr.
Mike.
Chairman, we're very, very happy to have Jody on board. Jody Kersey is our new finance director. She comes to us fresh down the road from the little town of Mendon. And yes, we stole her from Mendon. They're not maybe too happy with us right now, but I took an oath to the people of Millis, not to the people of Mendon. So I'm happy to have gotten her here. She comes with high recommendations, and she has a lot of experience, not just in the finance sector, but she's really been through the trenches in the town of Mendon, where they don't have, they have less staff than we do, so they wear a heck of a lot of hats over there. So very happy to have her here. Her first day was last Thursday. As I had mentioned during the budget season, we're also fortunate that since Carol is retiring and not going to another full-time job, she is able to assist us in the consulting role for a while to make sure we have a smooth transition. So I'm very happy about that as well. And I don't know if Jody, if you want to say a couple words. I know you spoke in front of the select board a little while ago.
Please.
But again, very happy to have her here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It's great to meet you all, to see you all in person. I've definitely seen names on paper. I've met some of you. Joyce, we met in the hall, and John, we've met in previous times as well. But yes, I'm very excited to be part of the town of Millis, working closely with Mike and Karen and Victoria in the select board's office, as well as the town administrator's office, and then Carol in the finance area. So just a tiny bit of background about myself. I started my career actually in the private sector, working for a rather large investment firm, and did a lot of work on the operations side of the business, in the transfer agency, managing teams, training teams, was a subject matter expert in the retirement space. And after about 10, 11 years of that, I switched gears and became a project manager in the digital marketing space, leveraging some of my background and those transferable skills there. Spent some time there and ended up, my office was in Watertown and then got moved downtown. And so after doing that commute for some time, I said, you know what, I'm gonna take a little time off, had my children, and then was ready to jump back into the professional space, at which time, you know, my husband would say, oh, you know, look at municipal jobs, look at this, look at that. I'm like, absolutely not. Nope, not doing it. That was years ago. And then I did, and I loved it. Serving the public, serving, you know, the townspeople, and I really enjoyed that part of my job. The residents, you get to know them, it becomes personal, and it makes your work that much more rewarding. Probably the most challenging and rewarding part of any of your job. So that being said, I served as the finance director and the treasurer collector in Mendon. And beyond that, I recently, only because I'm very proud of it, it was a lot of hard work, but received my Massachusetts Treasury certification, passed the exam. It was a 3.5-year process before you're eligible to take it. So I was excited to have received that news a couple weeks ago. And just continuing to, you know, learn and grow in my current role in an effort to both serve the community but also help those around me and really you know, continue to encourage and engage people to be better and grow and never stop learning. So I am currently invested in the MMA Suffolk program, which will lead me on my path to my MPA. I've already started those classes and have gone through the financial management seminars that they offer and just different spotlights and things to kind of continue to learn. And I also just received my MCPPO designation officially. Took all that coursework last year, and so I'm really just excited to continue to grow and support Mike and his team and learn as much as I can from Carol, and she's been a great resource just in these first few days. So again, looking forward to supporting you guys as well. If there are, you know, things near and dear that I can help with, I will be your, you know, be a resource for you. So looking forward to working with each of you and learning more about Millis and contributing in a positive way. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome. We're excited to have you here and excited to work with you going forward. So it's going to be exciting. I don't know what half of those acronyms are that you just mentioned. but
Yeah.
I know they're municipal related, but I'll Google them when I get home. Thank you very much. And Carol, thank you. We're gonna miss you, but maybe we'll see you a little bit during the transition phase. Okay.
You doing a guest speaker series?
Yeah, we're doing a masterclass series. You can come back.
We'll have you when the school budget.
Oh, sounds good. Well, thank you. So next on the agenda, why don't we talk about free cash, actually?
So I'm Carol Johnston, the former finance director. The free cash was certified a few weeks ago, and the amount was $3.4 million. The things that added to that were we had supplemental taxes that added to that, and tax title redeemed for $323,000 total for the two of those items. We had additional motor vehicle excise for $615,000. Penalty and interest totaling for property tax and motor vehicle was $162,000. The demands for $21,000. These are all in it over and above what the budgeted numbers were. The cannabis amounts came in at $517,000 total. Of that, the HCA portion is $320,000. So that's the money that'll go toward the additional budget requests for HCA money in the fall town meeting. Meals tax came in at an additional $135,000. Our bank account interest, with the lowering of the interest rates, you're not going to have this number again. It was $224,000.
Nice.
That's nice.
Miscellaneous revenues were over budget by $30,000. Our refunds and reimbursements, $139,000. Police details, $32,000. Our building department permits were $327,000. Of that, over $119,000 of that came in June. Our Medicaid reimbursement was over by $41,000. Our Board of Health licenses, $18,000. Our recreation budget was over $114,000, so that'll be great because we had it budgeted last year for $100,000,
Yep.
this year for $200,000, so we should be on target for that. So the total of that surplus was $2.7 million. Departmental turnbacks, $527,000, so our total revenue and department surplus was $3.2 million. So that ties into the 3.4.
Gotcha. And just to refresh everyone's memory, but especially mine, was this the targeted amount, the 3.4? Was that anticipated for the free cash?
So on the free cash, you're supposed to be estimating approximately 5 to 10% of your overall budget
Yeah.
number should be in free cash. And so we're at 7 point something, so I think we did pretty good.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
turnbacks, Carol, was 500,000?
So the turnbacks were, there was 91,000 in employee benefits, so that came in less than expected. Another big item was the cherry sheet. We had $82,000 less in expenses charged to us for the cherry sheets. That was basically for charter school and for special ed. The other number, we had debt came in at, let's see here. So our debt was around 90,000 as well, because we bonded instead of having to do our short-term borrowing. And
Thank
then
you.
the others were just incremental within departments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Maybe this is for Select Board, but I'll ask you. Do we know what the majority of this money is earmarked for going forward?
I would imagine it's going to be, my suggestions would be that obviously capital request, right? And one of the big capital requests, I believe, is going to be the buttoning up of the Lansing Millis building. I think that's around $250,000. I would also, if it's not already in the capital request, I would suggest $150,000 to repair the front stairs here. Also, I would like to see the 111F fund be brought up to $600,000. Our run rate is around $300,000 per year, so that would give us an opportunity if something were to happen, that you'd always have a cushion, because that's something that you can't get away from, because we're self-insured on that.
So what was 111F, Mr.
The
Chair?
111F is the police and fire
That one,
worker
okay.
comp.
Yep.
Yep.
We want to make sure that's
Always
at a higher
fully-
level.
Yeah, always fully funded,
Mhm.
and then if you could put an additional year's worth of money in there, I think that would be good.
Hang on. Is there a minimum threshold to keep that 111F?
No, it's just that if it runs out, then
Yes.
you're going to hit your operating budget.
Understood. I didn't know if there was a target number
well,
Millis shoots for.
We haven't established one yet.
Okay.
But I would think that because you're always going to be responsible for it, you'd want to build it up.
Yeah,
Well, as I said, right now, we have a $300,000 run rate.
yeah.
So to have the balance always be $600,000, I think
You're protecting
it's a safe
yourself as the
zone
town.
for the town.
Yep.
Because that's with what we currently have. If you have more go out on
Yep.
worker comp, then you run the risk of running out of the fund.
Yeah,
There's usually a rolling 5-year look back when it comes to the estimates. So certainly when we go
Right.
forward with the budget for FY '26, we'll be able to kind of look at that, and sometimes your higher years, they'll drop off, or another high year will come on. So you'll just have to monitor that with your
Right.
providers.
Well, I think it's more, we get direct, so that we have a couple of individuals that have, as soon as they cap out, then you own them 100%. There are at least 2 currently on it that we have at 100%. There's also a couple that are older. They've hit the $300,000 threshold for their medical. So that is 100%. Any expenses for hospital or doctor visits for those individuals will come back to the town. I don't know what they will be. It all depends on what happens to the individuals during the time.
yeah.
So that's why I would say, I would err on the caution of having more than you need,
Yes.
knowing that you have this fund available right now, this free cash, instead of all of a sudden you're in a crunch and you haven't hit budgets
You gotta
and now going
scramble.
into a deficit.
Yep. Mike, did you have a question?
The Lansing Millis building, is that the old train station?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. I know it's been floated around for a long time. I just think that it would be a shame because the longer you wait to do the repairs, the more it deteriorates, the more expensive it's going to be. So, I mean, I don't live in Millis, but it's a beautiful building. I have ideas of what it could possibly be, you know, whether you put your historical society in there with little postcards and things like that, and then a candy store or whatever on a bike path, would be perfect. An ice cream shop, you know, so. But it's a beautiful building, and I think it would be a shame for the town to lose it.
So, Mr. Chairman, so yeah, the Lansing Millis building, there's actually going to be some discussion on that at the Capital Planning Committee tomorrow evening, so
Yep.
you'll get a chance to hear some of that.
Okay.
I do fully agree with the items that the former finance director discussed. I think we do need to look at the stairs, although I don't think those will be on the fall town meeting, but we need to keep those front and center. In addition to the items that we need to look at, that I've mentioned about free cash, we do have the debt for our vocational school, which we anticipate in the vicinity of $350,000 for an annual payment for that. So we would plan on using free cash to fund our first full payment of that. And also, since I've been here, really the biggest complaint I've heard from the residents is the condition of the roads. And that's basically been a function of just not enough funds to do all the necessary repairs and repaving. And we have made certainly some progress on that in the last few years, and we'd like to continue that progress. So those are some of the thoughts on the free cash.
Thank you. Could you just shed some additional light on the Tri-County and the $300,000 that you mentioned, and current thoughts of funding that going forward, not only just in 1 year, but in multiple years going forward?
Sure. So this will be repetitive for most of the Finance Committee, but, you know, recently, when this project first came in, we were the only town in the district that actually added an actual debt exclusion onto the regional vote for the project to pay for it. That debt exclusion failed by 22 votes. So I think the Select Board are considering an appropriate time to consider whether that should go back before the voters. In the meantime, the plan is to pay our annual assessment on that through our certified free cash, and then try to plan a time frame at which we could look at other options. But essentially, a few of the other towns in the district have passed overrides for it since. Others aren't as heavily impacted, so they're just absorbing that in their budgets. And others are in the process of considering their overrides or debt exclusions over the next year or two.
Gotcha.
But that $350,000 is based on current enrollment. And the concern there is every student that gets added adds $12,000 a year to our debt for that project. So if we were to have a large influx of additional students, which is quite possible shortly after that project is completed, that's usually happens when you have a new building, that could be a real hit. And that number changes every year.
Right.
So we would have to adjust for that every year,
Based on enrollment, correct?
based on enrollment.
Right, and one thing that I would caution, and Mike is aware of it too, is that the last 2 years at Tri-County have been artificially low. When I first came here, between 50 to 60 students every year were going to Tri-County, and now the number's down to 31 or 32. So I think that the number, as it was explained to us, was the COVID years, the 2 COVID years. That's the 2 years, that's why the enrollment number's low.
I see.
So now that those 2 COVID years would be junior, seniors each year,
So even though the numbers are going up, they're going up to a normal level?
more than likely.
Generally
I
speaking,
don't know.
generally
I would be
speaking.
concerned about that. I would think
Yeah.
that they probably would.
And just to use round numbers, it's about 18,000 per student plus the 12,000 for the debt.
I think 18 might
Probably.
be roughly accurate for the actual assessed tuition.
Yeah.
Plus the 12,000, so I think you're looking at 30,000 plus per student.
Yeah.
In the cost of the
Yeah.
town.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Pete.
just one comment and one question, if you'll allow it. And the comment is that I think both the Finance Committee, I can't speak for everybody, but my experience is that the Finance Committee, as well as the Select Board, has been reluctant, at least, to use free cash for operating budget expenses. And, and I would, me personally, given that that's a fluctuating cost, would even be even more reluctant to support a proposal to use free cash. I don't know what the other options are, so I'm not saying how I would vote or what, but I would caution us to at least look at that and scrutinize that. And then the question is, or maybe this is just another comment, but I guess the question is, how much have we funded the special ed reserve fund?
324,000.
Which
It's
is the-
capped at about
which-
2 million?
Oh, no, that's the maximum.
It's only 2%
2%.
of the net school
2%,
spending.
okay,
You
2%.
can't
So
put
I
more
think
than
we
that
were
in.
pretty much at the cap.
We were at the cap
Yeah.
when we.
Now, the cap may have gone up
established the
by
fund.
$10,000 or $20,000, a small amount, but we're pretty
Okay.
much at the cap.
That may nullify what I was going to say next, and that is, given that if the cherry sheet had turnbacks from special ed, that funding go into the special ed reserve fund. If we're at the cap, then, that doesn't make much sense.
And that was, on that, it was, the bulk of it was charter school. So it's only like 3,000 for the special ed.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, just to
Yep, please
follow,
do.
just to follow up on Mr. Berubey's comment, and I do agree that I don't think that using free cash for that purpose is really an effective long-term solution. This is a short-term stopgap measure until we work out a more longer-term resolution to this.
Just when we're getting some money.
That's right. Right? It's the life of a budget.
Mr. Chair, the only other mention
Yep.
that we had discussed too for free cash funding would be contributions to stabilization, as well as OPEB, which is a typical year-over-year exercise.
And do we have those rough numbers yet, or are those in process?
Well, roughly, I think we had talked about like
300,000
300,000
for
and
stabilization and
50 for
54
OPEB.
Gotcha.
That's up quickly.
Yeah.
Probably not.
How much was for the OPEB?
50.
50, thanks. Thank you.
50?
That's based on your policy. You can obviously put more in if you want.
Right.
And the stabilization is supposed to be 5% of your operating budget, so we'll have to find out what your operating budget's going to be to make sure we have that number in there. Because you're going to have to be going out for bonding for well number 3 at some point in the future, so you want to maintain your bond rating.
Are teachers subject to our OPEB, or is it just town employees? Are they in the Mass Teachers Association?
Mass teachers pays their retirement fund, so that does not come out of the town. I'm not quite sure on the health benefit. I know we.
The post-benefit? No?
We subsidize their Medicare B as the town.
For town employees? I'm sorry,
For
for
the teachers.
teachers.
Or for teachers?
So I would say the teachers are basically included in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, if you're paying the Medicare.
We don't have to worry directly about teachers' retirement, but for the OPEB, we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Kathy, you have a question?
No one else.
Anyone else? All good on free cash. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I know that there was a question that came up about the HCA funding and how that's going to be, so.
Oh, please, yeah.
Thank you.
I think it may be out of order, but
We don't have.
That's okay.
We don't have the agenda in front of us.
It- It's a relevant point, so we'll allow it, just this once.
Since it's your
Don't get any
last
ideas, Jody.
Will you sign it so we'll have a souvenir?
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you.
month. I'm making the paper airplane out of mine.
Thank you.
This is actually a good exercise to go through.
There you go.
Wow. It's amazing.
What's your step?
Yeah, if you could just briefly walk us through that would be fantastic.
Sure, so you'll see that the top in the yellow
Yep.
is how much that the town has received in host community agreement funds since its inception. The bulk of it, you'll see, has come from the retail marijuana establishment, which is Comcan. That's 1.4 million as of at the end of August. Registered marijuana, which is the medicinal, is 511,000. The marijuana cultivator manufacturer, the 617, it's a $25,000 deposit when they sign the agreement. They're not up and operational at this point. I think we just had a discussion. They might be starting to grow, but you won't see any funds until they harvest, and then it's based on their gross sales. I wouldn't think that you'd see any true funding coming in from them for maybe another year on that. GTE, we received 15,000 from them. My understanding is that that is a no-go. Is that true? GTE?
Yeah, no.
Which was
Yes,
the
no,
one-
they've backed out of that, they've withdrawn.
But we get to keep their deposit, right?
We did not.
They didn't have.
It was
No, Advesa was the one that.
Advesa was the one,
Yeah,
yes.
So Advesa is the next one on the list. That was 25,000. They were going to be a manufacturer of oils, and they went into the Colt building down on 109, but then it was determined they couldn't be in a building with another business that wasn't, so they lost their lease, and they've decided to back out. They did ask for their money back, and we did give it
Yeah,
back.
those funds were returned.
So you see that further on in the expense line. The other one, that on GTE, that was the one that was going to build behind a 600,000 square foot facility.
Correct.
Ellen had said it's a no-go.
Yeah, it didn't go. I mean, the reality is the cannabis industry is rapidly evolving, and the different investors, things change fast, and the market is still changing. And a lot of the original folks that were gung-ho to come in,
Yep.
again, the economy's changed on it, and several of them, it just, the math didn't work.
And the prices are getting compressed
Yes.
based on market conditions,
Prices are going down based on competition.
from what I read.
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Pete.
I wouldn't know.
Could you clarify, did I hear that right? You said that they were going to build a 600,000 square foot
They were
facility?
supposed to.
Where?
It was supposed to be behind.
It was
Uncle Ned's Fish Factory, apparently.
It was in the
There's some
woods
property back in
behind
there.
that. They were gonna have a very small, they were gonna have a
Access road.
small entryway onto 109, but it was
Yeah.
gonna be, most of it was gonna be behind the businesses on 109.
600,000 square feet.
That's what we were told.
Yeah.
So it's like an Amazon facility.
Wow.
Would have been a very large growing facility, yes.
Would have been a lot of money coming in.
It just goes to show that there is developable industrial
back, yeah.
space in Millis.
There's quite a bit of it.
600,000 square feet is
Too much of
huge.
it.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if we keep following the expenses to 1.6 million?
Yeah, so 1.6 million, so we had the police academy training, we had school resource officer and stipends, and then operating budget, which are the items that are put in every year at the budget time
Yep.
for us to fund as mitigation for the marijuana business in town. So those have all gone, that's what each one of those are. You can see the Advesa is like halfway down the green where we had to refund the money, so that's the 25,000
Yep.
there. So at the end of the day, so 1.6 million is what's been spent out of the 1.9. The balance that we have currently is 368,438. Of that, 320,412.89 was just certified in the free cash. So out of that free cash number of the 3.4, 320,000 is the HCA, so that has to be pulled out just for the HCA money. I just recently received a quarterly payment in August for the next to last payment for the retail marijuana, and so that is $48,025. That won't be certified until November 2025. You have one remaining payment in November for the recreational marijuana. I would assume it will be in either maybe probably $45,000 range every quarter. It's gone down a little bit, so that's what I would assume. And then you also will get your final annual payment for the medicinal. And that, we would project is about 120,000. So that will be coming in, but it will, and so it'll be added to the 48,000, but won't be available until November of 2025.
Gotcha. Okay,
It has to be certified in free cash.
understood, yep. Go ahead, Joyce.
So this is it as far as any of the marijuana money?
Yes.
What is the three, is there not a?
There is a 3% excise tax.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
continues.
That will remain.
That will remain?
There's no
And
end date on that.
And that always, and that goes into your general revenues.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure that
And what
it's
is
not
that,
off.
what has that amount roughly been?
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
amount is so on that, you will no longer get a medical. You never get the 3% of the medical because there's no tax. The only amount that you will ever get is what is on the retail. So the retail is about 100, I didn't print off that other page, but it's, so it was 197,000 for this year. So
Okay.
obviously, it won't be that much, because it'll be half of that, maybe 100,000 for next year, because you only have 2 quarters. Right? So they already paid the first quarter, which is 48. You'll have 1 quarter left, November, and then they'll be done.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chair?
Yes, please, go ahead.
For the FY '26 budget, is there any marijuana funds available for that?
Yes.
We're in the
so
FY '25 now, right?
We're in 25
Yes.
now,
So for '26,
for 26, so if you take the 320,000 number that you have now, that's out of free cash, we have 137,503 for a fall town meeting to approve. So the balance that's left is 180,000, approximately. That will be available for you in May for your 26 budget. The remainder, the 48,000 plus whatever we get in November, will be available November 2025. So that will be available for the remainder of the 26 budget. And whatever you don't spend will roll to your 27 budget.
So all payments will be finished in fiscal year 2026?
Well, all payments will be finalized in 25.
25,
But we
But
can't use all
You
of them
can't use
because
it
of
till
delay.
26, because it's November that you'll get used, approximately November, you'll get your free cash certification.
yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Sarah.
And there's no word yet on any extension. I know that was kind of floated in the legislature, right, that they were going to try to extend the current contracts to,
I believe that there's no appetite for the
Okay.
remaining 3 years that could possibly be for a continuation of the contract.
Just if I could add a little bit on
Please,
that.
go
I mean,
ahead.
Speaking for most of the communities in the Commonwealth that have these types of HCA's, the legislature and the Cannabis Control Commission basically pulled the rug out from all the towns on the recent legislation. They put such limits on how it can be used, how much can be collected, the timing. It's made it very difficult for towns to be able to utilize these funds. I will say that Millis, unlike many of the towns, was able to utilize pretty much all the funds for this period of time, the 5 years. A lot of towns either couldn't use it, or there was litigation between them and the marijuana growers or retailers, and it didn't work out. So it is very difficult from a legal framework standpoint to continue this. That's not to say there aren't conversations, but from a legal framework, the state's made it very difficult for towns to continue to collect HCA payments.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Is there something, though, if and I think Carol's to be commended, because the way you scrutinized the marijuana money, Carol, there was no question at all that it was related to that. And in the statute, is there an option if the owner of the facility believes that everything is on the up and up and according to the statute, that person can continue to contribute some sort?
Well, I
Is
think
that-
there's always an option for someone to voluntarily
Okay.
do something like that. But what I mean is, from a legal framework, the
Yeah.
state has made it virtually impossible for towns to be able to move forward with anything. And like I said, I think the town's been pretty successful
Yeah.
when you look at us compared to other communities and their retail facilities of what we've been able to collect and how we've been able to utilize those, and you're correct, in a very effective, and I think, way that provides a real nexus between the product and its impact. A lot of other towns weren't quite as detailed on how they went about that, and some of them got in trouble for that.
There was a big article, yeah, a few
Yes.
articles about those, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet.
Thank you,
Question?
Carol.
Any other questions? Okay, I appreciate you bringing that up at this meeting, thank you.
And, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I don't see it on your agenda, so if it's okay, I just wanted to talk briefly about the fall town meeting, and where and it might be under other business.
Yeah, we can, but since you're there, we can cover that now, that's fine.
But I just wanted to update you on where we stand with the fall town meeting. The fall town meeting is annual town meeting scheduled for November 19th, which is a Tuesday at the middle high school. You might be asking, why the heck are we having it that date? Just to, and some of you know why, but just to explain to the public, essentially, our regular day would have been the evening before the presidential election. And we were certainly concerned about the health and welfare and our poll workers who would be working till midnight and then have to be at the polls at 5 o'clock the next morning for a 16-hour day.
Yeah.
We didn't think that was prudent. We did have some conflicts on a lot of other days. We went back and forth for about 3 weeks trying to find the day, and this is the best day we found. It does, it is going to put a little bit of a pinch on the finance departments. They have a shorter window to get things done and get our tax rate set, but we've got a good team. I know we're going to be able to do it. So right now, the select board opened the warrant at
Okay.
their meeting last week. The warrant will close on Monday, September 30th. And I should have a list of articles for the Finance Committee at your meeting on October 2nd. I believe you have a scheduled meeting. So I should at least have a list of articles or items that will be on the warrant. And probably for your meeting the week after that, I hope to have at least a draft warrant for you to review on October 9th, an actual draft warrant.
And as of now, there's, what, 5 to 10 articles?
Right now, there's 5 to 10, but that tends to grow.
Yeah.
We'll see, where we stand in a couple weeks, but I just wanted to update you on that. If you're wondering, okay, when are we gonna get information and
Yeah.
what's on there? Obviously, the two items of greatest interest to the public will be the MBTA zoning bylaw.
Correct.
As well as the override vote. I also wanted to let the Finance Committee know that at the recommendation of Town Council, we're actually going to have a separate special town meeting that same evening. I believe that'll be the first town meeting at 7:30. The fall special town meeting will be held immediately after the completion of the special town meeting. The reason we're holding a special town meeting is our town council has reviewed the state law in regards to override votes. And it's a little vague on fall annual town meetings. So he felt it would be much cleaner if we had a special town meeting, which is clear under the statute that we're allowed to have within a certain period of time of the actual ballot election. So it's really just a legal issue, why we have to have another town meeting. And obviously, the relevance of that article is dependent on the vote on November 5th.
I was just going to ask, just to illustrate the point here, so there's going to be an override question on the ballot on the 5th, correct?
About 2 weeks prior to the actual town meeting. So if it so happens that ballot question does not pass,
Correct.
then that article will be of no use.
Correct.
And that special town meeting will
There wouldn't be a-
we basically open it,
And close
dismiss
it.
the article, and close it.
Okay. And then what is the purpose of the special town meeting for the override instead of having it during town meeting?
Town council felt on his reading of the state law that it's a little vague on the ability of a town to do an operational override vote at a fall annual town meeting. It's just silent to the question.
Yeah,
So town council felt to be clean, the law specifically talks about a special town meeting. So that's why he felt more comfortable He thought he could argue that both would be fine, but just to get rid of the possibility of someone challenging that,
Yep.
it's cleaner to have a special town meeting.
So in full disclosure, I will not be here for town meeting, nor will Vice Chair Mike be here for town meeting. And we're not going on the same trip together or anything like that.
Though there'd be nothing wrong with that.
But, keep
It's
an
not a
open mind.
quorum. It's not a quorum.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I asked Pete Berube to step in to fill the chair's shoes, and he agreed to do that. With that said, though, that doesn't exempt us from doing our due diligence, and I'm happy to take on the override article, write it up, provide comments, as well as I'm sure Mike would too, because this is strike number 2 against you. Okay, I appreciate
And
that.
I apologize for the timing that does not allow you two gentlemen to be there, so.
That's okay,
but,
that's okay.
Did they think about holding the special town meeting before the November vote?
Yeah, because of the override.
We could.
mean, because of the
Logistically, it would
ballot.
be more difficult. I understand the pros and cons of that, but trying to get all the voters out at 2 different town meetings in the fall might be asking a lot of them. We already get complaints about, having 2 town meetings a year. There are people who just feel it's a big inconvenience.
Wow.
I thought it would be fun for everyone, but not everyone agrees. Would it be legal? Yes. I think logistically, it felt it was just a little much.
And
Go
and I
ahead.
just want to make, I want to thank the Select Board for considering at one of their meetings about having the town meeting during the day. It won't occur this time, but there is conversation, so people are aware out there in TV land,
On a Saturday.
that there'll be a possible Saturday.
Yes, it is a topic of discussion. I think at an upcoming tri-board meeting, that'll be an item of discussion at the meeting to get feedback from folks as to, people's thoughts on having a Saturday meeting. It's something that the select board has heard about for some time. We did have that one during COVID.
Right.
We got very lucky. It was a November day that it was in the mid-70s and sunny. You don't get a lot of those, but we got lucky on the outdoor. But it was well-attended, and it's certainly something to look at and have have that discussion.
Thank you very much for explaining all that, because I'm sure a lot of residents will have questions going forward. Oh, wait, there might be another question here.
I'm never short on questions.
Go ahead, Pete.
Sorry. As I recollect, we had the town meeting last spring, and then we had the vote. And I think that the town meeting was vote to authorize, and then the ballot vote was a vote to appropriate?
Actually, the ballot
Or
vote
do I
is,
have that backwards?
I think it's the opposite. The ballot vote actually increases the cap, the levy cap, on Prop 2.5. And the actual vote at town meeting actually appropriates funds that have now been made available from the increase in the cap.
So, but I have the sequence, right? Right? Didn't we
Yeah,
have
but you
town
can.
meeting?
Yes.
It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. Legally, it doesn't matter.
And not that that has to be, not that, I think it's important that everybody understands that. That question's gonna come up. People are cynical on this. There's half of us in town, and us being, half of the town is cynical on it, and we ought to be able to explain that very clearly
Yes,
for everybody.
absolutely. If the last override vote showed us anything, is that the town is pretty evenly split right now on that issue. And at the fall town meeting, you're gonna have a lot more people voting.
Yeah.
I would expect, I mean, at the
At the
ballot.
ballot, yeah.
You're gonna have a lot more people voting, so you'll get a broader picture of the whole, of a much bigger piece of the electorate weighing in on this issue.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, it's sort of a nerdy question, but if it fails on November 5th, do we not need the special town meeting?
You just said
Okay,
that.
Yeah,
okay.
the
Just
town meeting,
clarifying. Okay.
yeah, the town meeting, that town meeting would basically serve no purpose. It would essentially be open just for the purposes of
Okay.
dismissing the article and
All right.
adjourning it.
So-
Because we're required to,
Why we did it the other way
Yeah.
last time. All right.
it'd be very quick, it'd be a 2-minute thing.
I think it's a timing issue this round. It should be the other way around, but it's a timing issue when the
Usually,
ballot is.
usually, the town meeting article would come first, probably, 80 to 90%.
Like it did in the spring.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I get that, but if, I mean, this seems
The-
more
the-
efficient, like if you know nobody's going to pay, then why bother wasting all that time arguing to appropriate it or not? So I'm actually advocating to do it this way going forward, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Mike, will there be any flyers sent out letting people know this is going to be on the ballot?
There will be things put on the town's website. And we do send out the cards.
Okay.
So it will be noted on the cards that there's an override vote.
On the ballot.
We have to be very careful about what we put in writing about anything on a ballot question, so we really can't do much of it. We have to be very careful on that. But as far as posting stuff on the website and so forth, we'll be, certainly doing that. Folks that are supportive of the override, certainly, we encourage those to, send that message out there, and certainly people who feel the opposite have every right to do the same, so.
Go ahead, Pete.
Sorry.
Yep.
Are you aware of any ballot issues or town meeting potential warrant articles for the school reno/addition? Is that
Not-
happening
not for
this
the fall, no.
Okay, thank you.
Couple of follow-up points on everything that we're talking about here. So if you haven't watched the select board meeting over the summer requesting the override, feel free and take a look at it. But the override is for one DPW employee and the school.
That's correct.
There's no fire, there's no police.
That's correct.
I'm trying to get school committee here next week to review the override numbers and what it means to them. That's in process right now.
Thank you.
I had another point, but it's escaping me.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
He brought up the town administrator about a tri-board meeting.
Yes.
Is there anything scheduled or?
Yes, I was actually going to bring that up as well. I know we've been emailing back and forth.
Let's do it.
today.
Let's do it right now.
Thank you, John.
I
Yep.
think the select board had come up with 3 dates.
December.
No, October.
Oh,
Well, let me cut you off. So right now, it's proposed on October 17th, which is a Thursday. I think everybody is clear, all the other committees are clear for that date. There was discussion of having it on the Wednesday, since we would be available.
I think but I think the school committee preferred
Thursday?
17th.
Okay. So can everybody try to make that on the 17th? That's, sorry to
Yeah, I
cut
think
you
we'll just
off.
have to notify the chair of the capital committee that they'll have to
Yes.
move their meeting that evening, that's all.
Yes, yeah. So we'll have, as of now, we'll have our FinCom meeting on the 16th, and then we'll have the tri-board meeting on the 17th. And Kathy, to your question you had earlier via email, so the select board has in their procedures to have 2 tri-board meetings a year, which pretty much they're on target for. But we can bring it up to have maybe 4, maybe kind of a quarterly tri-board meeting, if it makes
I
sense.
had mentioned, Mr. Chair, that Joyce Boyardi and I attended that seminar, and it was strongly encouraged to have 4 or 5 a year.
Yep.
So, and I hope people are going to be going to that seminar, we can talk about afterwards.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, I
Yep.
think the board's idea with their goal is that it be at a minimum of 2, and if there are reasons or if there's requests to add additional ones, they're certainly open to that. There's no rule saying they can't be more than 2, so.
Correct, and we factored it into our budget to have 2. So, I don't know if Deirdre can hear me, did anyone want to go to that municipal conference? Did everyone get the email? Everyone's looking at me like I have 3 heads. If you do, let me know, I think I might try to go, but if others are interested, then let Deirdre know, and she'll register us.
The town will pay for that.
Thank you.
I already paid mine because I was told only 2 could go. And
Yeah.
I already went,
Okay,
so that's fine.
did you, okay.
We can talk about,
reimbursement.
you can put
Yeah.
in for reimbursement,
But
absolutely.
we only budgeted for 2, and I didn't want to have to request a reserve
If-
transfer and
No,
call a
no,
meeting.
I strongly encourage attendance at these,
I
so.
do
Yeah.
too.
I would
There were
say,
several towns that
we'll,
had full
we'll,
members there. a
we'll make
full meeting.
sure anyone who wants to go,
Sad.
and will get reimbursed, and if you have your paperwork, Kathy, and want to submit that, we'll make sure to get that reimbursed.
And the thought that I had that escaped me is coming back. Actually, tonight, the school building committee's meeting at the same time we are right now. So if you want to check out what the school building thoughts are, check out YouTube later tonight 2024 going forward.
Will we still be doing Zooms in October for our meetings? Because I'm out of town.
Yeah,
It'll still
absolutely.
be available, so
Yeah.
you can speak at the
Yeah,
meeting.
absolutely.
The YouTube won't, you won't be.
Yeah,
able to
no,
see
that
Yeah.
won't interfere with the
Yeah,
Zoom.
those are two separate things.
Yeah.
So Zoom
It's for
is if you want to
participation.
attend virtually.
Right,
Yeah, the YouTube is live, so residents can watch us live if they want to.
right.
Anywhere
but
in the world.
the Zoom, I'm not going to be around,
Ellen
so I
always
can
says.
attend our meeting.
He's sitting in
Yeah.
Italy and
Yep,
watching the
if you're not
meeting.
here physically.
Those two nights.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
watching my grandchildren
Yep.
for 2 weeks while my daughter.
Well,
You just can't,
To-
you
to-
cannot, can you correct me if I'm wrong? You can vote, right?
I'm sorry?
Via Zoom, you can't.
You
we
can,
can't.
yes.
So if we're
If
having
you have,
votes.
if you have people that are voting through Zoom, then the committee needs to do a roll call vote, that's all, for any votes.
We did that last year.
So since we're on a roll, doing all the new business, why don't you jump in and talk about some of the CPC things?
Sure.
I'm the liaison, but
I think we touched upon one earlier, and that's the Lansing Millis building. I
Yeah.
think we're looking at around 250,000
yep,
to really make sure that we don't have any deterioration of the building.
yep,
And then that provides some time for the town to go through really a process to get feedback on future use of that building. It could be anything from some municipal, adjunct building for some municipal use. It could be leasing it to a nonprofit or private entity. Really, the goal, I think, here is to preserve the building and keep the town's ownership of it for future generations. But that's probably one of the, one of the key items you'll see.
go ahead, Joyce.
Any possibility of being used for the COA?
Always possible. I know it was looked at as one of the options of looking at in the early phases of a new senior center. It was ruled out because of the constraints of the site. Certainly, the building is a beautiful building. It's not ADA compliant. It could be, some parts of it could be adjusted, but you would need to put a large addition on it because it's too small for a senior center. And then we had some constraints around parking, adequate parking.
How large a building is it? Because I know we've got 7,000 square feet downstairs.
Oh, it's less than that.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Small.
It's smaller than that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was a train
So-
station.
It was a train station. It's beautiful inside, it's just not very spacious.
Oh, okay.
And for those that have been through it, there's a lot of unique little features in it. You don't, very expensive to build buildings with round rooms and things like that.
Cool beans.
It was the town hall.
That's
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
it
that's
was at
right.
one
It was
time.
amazing how the town hall was in there until what, 1998? That's amazing.
That's why I was like, how large, I didn't realize it was as small as it is.
Yeah,
Is there 2 floors?
2 floors, yeah. Again, no elevator, so
No.
there's a staircase.
So in addition to the Lansing building, though, on the capital planning committee, there's a skid steer.
Well, the committee's debating whether to just hold off on that one.
Okay. Aerial boom lift.
Aerial boom lift will be on there.
Yeah.
And just not to get ahead of the capital committee, but
Yeah.
that piece of equipment would be used by all town and school departments
Yep,
for building maintenance, mostly exterior building maintenance, and, tree trimming, other grounds maintenance, anything, putting up signs, anything it could be utilized for. I know the DPW is looking for a heavy Freightliner truck.
yep,
Which is around $260,000. It's a diesel, it's a heavy-duty truck, it's a diesel truck.
yeah,
One of the things that we'll be talking about is, for those that closely follow the state regulations, the state just changed the laws on diesel trucks. You will not be able to buy a diesel truck in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts after January 1st.
for towns or anybody?
Anybody.
Wow,
Yeah.
So, I say that it's really, you won't be able, if it's not already licensed in the state.
yeah,
And so they're requiring electric and other types of vehicles. number one, we'll probably get on a waiting list for a year or two to be
Yeah.
able to get that, and it's gonna be exponentially more expensive.
Right.
Now, I'm not taking a stand on if it's a good or bad
No, no,
legislation.
no, but
It's gonna be
Jim's-
expensive legislation,
Yeah,
short
Jim's
term.
presenting to the CPC to get a truck now that's
If we
diesel
wanna get it
before the law
before
changes.
December 31st,
Yeah.
or we're gonna be kind of in a pinch. Once we get that truck, we'll be okay for a little while, hopefully until the dust settles from all this change in the law.
Yep,
That item. The school committee is looking at, like I said, holding off on the skid steer, but looking at a transportation van. I think I just got some documents from the superintendent of schools today, so I'll be forwarding that to the capital committee.
okay. I think that's about
Any
it.
other ones that you're aware of? that I can think of? I can't think of any other big ones off the top of my head, but, actually, the police need updated new tasers.
Oh, I saw that come through, yeah.
So, and he'd be happy if any of you want to have any demonstrations, if you want to take part in any
I'll
trials.
try it.
I'll do it. I'd be happy to.
Can you do it on my kids?
Only if you're on the part you're holding the taser, right?
Grandchildren?
Yeah.
So,
What, do they use them all up, or they run
well,
out?
they're certified for so many years,
Oh,
and the
phew.
technology has changed. Yeah. That's right, they've
Good
used them
point.
so
You only
often,
get
they've run out
100 shots
of the little
per
pin shots.
taser.
And, yeah, that's, for some reason, that particular item, it's tough to get the grants for, although he gets grants for the vast majority of his equipment, except for the cruisers.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's great with that.
And the fire department, it needs 8 new sets of turnout gear. A lot of that's for the call firefighters, so that'll be on there.
okay.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Yep. I appreciate it, Mike, thank you. Any other questions for Mike before he steps away? Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, on the Lansing Millis building, what would that sell for if you were to try to sell it? How much money would that get the town?
Boy, I don't know.
Has anybody ever looked?
I don't know if we've,
I wouldn't think that you would make out by selling that historical piece of property.
Yeah.
I think that it would be a disservice to the town. My
But I,
personal-
Well,
I
from
didn't
a-
ask the,
My
I did
personal-
not ask the
Yeah.
morals. I asked
Yeah.
what the money would
from an
be.
economic standpoint,
Yes.
I think it's basically, its value is in the piece of land and where it sits,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
I understand that there may be the other CPC, Community Preservation,
Yes.
there may be an application before that group for
For,
funding.
yes, so we've
So-
had discussions about maybe requesting 50% of those funds from the community preservation.
50% of the 250 or an additional?
No, 50% of the 250. So we'll see how that process goes.
Yeah.
I think an application's gonna go into them by the end of this week.
So-
And they're meeting next week, I believe, just to see if they'd consider that.
Yeah,
It was favorably received when it was initially discussed in the spring, I think, or last year.
Okay.
It's just that I think the committee likes to see some other money going toward.
Yes, no, I
their
understand.
funding, so.
So I don't think we'd be asking for more than 50% of the
Yeah.
funds.
Good, great.
thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
And to round it out, thank you, everybody. Jody, you want to give us a little update on MBTA?
Nice seeing you this evening.
Nice to meet you.
Kathy, you want to lift up that mic, your mic for a minute? There we go.
Okay,
Oh, an encore presentation.
go ahead, Jody.
All right, so if you aren't aware, I am also the chair of the MBTA 3A Advisory Committee. So on September 10th, we had a public hearing before the planning board to go over the latest revisions of the proposed bylaw, which we do hope to have on the warrant for a fall town meeting. If we do not pass a compliant bylaw by December 31st of this year, we will
Yep.
be out of compliance
Yep.
with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That jeopardizes grants coming from the state, their discretionary grants, would open up the town to possible lawsuits, all of that. You know, Milton's going through that. There are several towns that are, well, there's a few towns that are out of compliance. The vast majority of towns are in compliance or in the process of being in compliance. They've passed their bylaws at town meeting, it's the vast majority of towns have been able to figure out something that works for their town that is also in compliance with this bylaw, which frankly, no one asked for. The governor signed without a lot of input. The goalposts were changing. We were working through changes to the law as it was happening, and we're trying to come up with something that would work for Millis. All that being said, I think that what we as a committee have put together with the help of MAPC and what is currently proposed is about as inoffensive as it can be for Millis. There's two main parcels, so hopefully, well, you can go to the planning board and get a package. There's a package that has
All those documents are online?
all the
Yeah.
documents are online. I
Okay.
mean, it's, pages and pages here. But it does have a map.
Yeah,
So there's two main parcels. There's the GAF site and a little adjacent site. And then on the other side of 109, it's more or less the Stony Brook area.
okay.
So it's kind of like a little crescent there. And this is an overlay district, so whatever the zoning is on it remains. This is an overlay that would go on top of it that would allow for multifamily housing by right according to the parameters that are in the bylaw. And, it's designed to increase density, but to also allow developers to come in and do multifamily housing without certain restrictions.
Yeah.
So we
So
are.
so the vote's for the zoning per se, not for any building of any kind?
Oh, correct,
Right.
yeah. There may be no building that happens, quite frankly, these two sites are identified through our surveys. We had a survey with the town, we had meetings with the town, and these were areas that were identified for redevelopment. And there is some desire for redevelopment of these sites. GAF is sitting there
Yeah.
doing nothing. We all know there are challenges with that site in particular for housing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's not our problem in terms of the bylaw. It's just a matter of putting that as part of the overlay district, and what a developer chooses to do or not do, that's not our responsibility as a town. Our responsibility is just to have an overlay district. And the same with Stony Brook. There's already talk of redevelopment on certain parts of that site. Again, some towns have made districts that already had housing built as part of their district, and they get to count it as part of this. So, Wellesley, but.
Say, isn't that Wellesley?
Yeah.
Right.
We as an advisory committee are
Yeah.
trying to come up with, like I said, something that works as best we can within the constraints of what the state is mandating and with what the citizens of Millis want. We didn't ask for this, but these parcels are ripe for redevelopment, and, it's unlikely that you would have single-family home developments on these sites. And we did not, I will speak to this, we did not specifically include the Ann and Hope site because we as a town want commercial development in our downtown. The GAF site is a little bit removed from 109.
Yeah.
So it's more of a residential neighborhood. I don't think they want large-scale commercial development in kind of that residential area. But the Ann and Hope site, it would be great if that was redeveloped or continues to be redeveloped into a more commercially vibrant site
Yeah.
for, the town of Millis. Yes, a cider brewery.
Is that right?
Yep,
Wow.
yep.
It's
Okay.
almost
So,
full. The
As
Ann
it
and Hope
stands
building's
now,
almost full.
we have some revisions to make. Our committee is meeting tomorrow night, and we will be back at the planning board, hopefully for them to recommend that this go on the warrant. Their next meeting is October 8th. So that will be the next meeting of the planning board, and there will be a revised draft of the bylaw at that time.
Okay. Questions for Jody at all? Go ahead, Pete.
Jody, did the committee I guess, or does the state requirement to create the overlay districts, does it usurp or circumvent any other existing, say, laws or constraints? And what I'm getting at is, how about the sewer capacity? I mean, if we're increasing density, increasing developable property, and say we were at or near our capacity, because that's a discussion that's been going on in this town for 2 to 3 years or more, is the charter or the domain of the 3A committee, don't worry about that, that's somebody else's problem down the road?
Yes. And my understanding is the state's attitude towards that is if your town doesn't have sewer capacity, it's up to the developer to figure out a sewer treatment plant for their development.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you're not gonna build 700 units in an area that you don't have adequate water or sewer or anything like that. And I think the thing to emphasize about this too is, it's just an overlay district. Nobody's mandating that the construction occur. Nobody's telling you what can be there in terms of size of units or anything like that. It's just, you know, we have other overlays that we've done in the past for, I mean, crazy things like, you know, adult entertainment. You know, we have overlays for that in many towns. So, not to say that this is on par with that, but it's not dissimilar in terms of, it's not mandating anything goes there. It just says that if it's gonna go there, this is where it's gonna go.
Right, and it's not specifically putting that compliance model elsewhere in Millis.
Very clever.
I think, I'm trying to get Bob Weiss in here as well on the 16th of October, so I don't know if that
Could be possible, he's
Yeah.
on vacation right now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Thank you. Any other thoughts for Jody before? No? I don't have anything because we talked about it when Mike Kozinski was talking. Just keep an eye out for upcoming meetings, school committee, DPW. I'll keep you updated on CPC items, and then before you know it, we'll be here before pre-town meeting, regular town meeting. Actually, I'll take a motion to defer approving the minutes from July 10th. So moved. Second, all in favor? Aye. Aye. So I don't have those in front of me, so we'll do that at another meeting. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything else? No? I'll take a motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We didn't get this.
It was
emailed to
emailed.
us.
That was.
I didn't get, he didn't get.
I didn't check.